And this time around, we want to focus on the tourism sector, specifically the tourism relationship between Kenya and Uganda, the neighboring countries. And just to set the pace for this conversation I'm set to have, I'd like us to take a look at a report that was released just this year, February, indicating Kenya's tourism sector performance in the year 2022. And from that particular report, it's proper to note that Uganda contributed 12% of total arrivals to Kenya in 2022, and they were coming second to United States of America, which took the top overall spot at 16% contribution. So it's really proper to note that across the East African region, Uganda was the top contributor in terms of foreigners coming into the country under the tourism sector, where we actually registered about 151,000 visitors to Kenya, closely followed by Tanzania with 123,000 and Rwanda coming in third at 48,000. So it goes without saying the symbiotic relationship between Kenya and Uganda is important. But how can we boost these numbers when it comes to the tourism sector? Because in Kenya, we definitely have the beaches, and you can talk about the big five. What exactly does Uganda have? How can we bring up both tourism sectors in the country? Because it's not a sibling rivalry. It's all about complementing each other. I'm pleasured to host the ambassador, who is Paul Mukumbya, joining me right here in studio. He's the Ugandan consulate to Kenya, and we're set to talk about the tourism sector between Kenya and Uganda. Ambassador, it's a pleasure to have you with us. Asante sana for your time.
Thank you.
Welcome to KTN News.
Thank you. Thank you very much for hosting me here at KTN. It's a pleasure to be here. I know KTN is a strong ally of our events. They always cover us very well.
Yes.
So it's a pleasure today to be here live in your studios.
Amazing. So should we just go into the tourism sector, or would you like to contribute about the Africa Climate Summit a little bit later on? But let's start with the tourism sector, because this is your forte. I've just broken down the numbers. It shows how Uganda is a major contributor to the tourists we get right here in the country, coming in a close second to the United States in 2022. What would you say about the relationship between Kenya and Uganda in terms of the tourism sector? Are we where we need to be? What needs to be done in order to improve these numbers?
Thank you very much. Maybe you gave half the story. The other side of the story is that Kenya is the #1 source market for Uganda. And from the same report that you have quoted, triple that number of 120, that's over 350,000 Kenyans visited Uganda last year. So for us, whereas Uganda is #2 to Kenya, but for Uganda, Kenya is #1, and it is such an important market that we can't afford to ignore, that we are really focusing on to get even more Kenyans visiting Uganda. Yes, so really, and in order to achieve that, since last year in November, we have been working, as you may have, as per your introduction, I'm the Consul General of Uganda based in Mombasa.
Okay.
And we basically take charge of the Kenya coastal region, the 6 counties of the Kenya coast. That is our area of focus. And you know, the Kenya coast is the tourism hub of Kenya. So many tourists from Europe, America, Asia, and even from Africa come to the Kenya coast every year.
Yes.
And they come there mainly to enjoy the beautiful beaches. But then also in Uganda, we have some products, unique products to Uganda, just like we don't have such beautiful beaches in Uganda like the ones at the Kenya coast, although we have some things we call beaches, but they're not quite what one would experience at the Kenya coast.
What's unique to Uganda?
What's unique to Uganda, #1 are the mountain gorillas. Which are found in Western Uganda. That's a unique product to Uganda, which Kenya does not have. They have the big 5, but it will take them a bit of time to get the mountain gorillas, if ever.
Yes.
We have the chimpanzees. That's also a class of primates. We have the adventure tourism on the River Nile, water rafting and all that. Then we have a product we talk about, and this is especially for the young people in your age bracket, the Kampala nightlife. Uganda is the capital city of nightlife in Africa. I don't know if you have been there or you have experienced that. Then we have the cultural tourism. So all these are products that we have in Uganda, unique to Uganda.
Yes.
But as I've indicated, the Kenya coast also has the beaches and other products. So since last year, we've been working on how these products can complement one another so that it's not competition. As you can see, the many tourists who come to the Kenya coast, if we could combine and work together, and also on the same itinerary, those tourists also proceed to Uganda and see something completely different. See the mountain gorillas, see the chimpanzees, go for the adventure tourism, look at enjoy the cultural tourism, religious tourism. You know, we have the Uganda Martyrs Shrine in Namugongo. We have the biggest Baha'i temple in Africa on the outskirts of Kampala. So these are products which can complement one another, so much so that if they work together, if we work together, we can get more numbers, the tourists can stay longer. And as you may know, the tourists who come and stay for 2-3 weeks, they have two very important factors. These are retirees.
Okay.
And you know, retirees have time.
On their hands.
They have all the time. And they have all the money. So instead of spending 2-3 weeks here in the region, they could end up spending 1 month or even more. And at the end of the day, it's not competition. We are all benefit. It's a win-win situation. The Kenyan government wins. The Uganda government gets more, but also the operators, the stakeholders in the tourism sector are also getting more. And we've been saying that the tourism sector is the lowest hanging fruit, where one can do business with the already existing infrastructure. Whereas to do or to promote a new product in a trade or to carry out a new investment, you need to put in more money, more capital. But for you to get more tourists, you don't need to put in any, you already have the infrastructure. The beds are there, the hotels are there, the tourism vehicles are already there. So you just need to add to the numbers and then the multiplier effect. And you know, tourism culture cuts across all the sectors of the economy. So at the end of the day, we shall be getting much more from these tourists.
So you mentioned the infrastructure is there. We definitely need to tap into the potential because, as you said, Kenya is unique, Uganda is unique. So we definitely have a lot to offer to the tourism sector. How exactly are we tapping into this potential? You mentioned since November you've been working around this. What exactly are we doing to ensure that you see these pensioners who are coming to Kenyan coast actually have the chance to cross over the border and benefit from the chimpanzees in the Rwenzori Mountains, as you said?
No, in Chibali.
In Chibali. Yes. Okay.
So what we did last year, we organized a tourism conference last November in Mombasa.
Okay.
And it was attended by about 250 stakeholders in the tourism sector. Now, from Uganda and Kenya, not really just the Kenya coast, but from across Kenya. And after the conference, which was a one-day conference, the stakeholders from Uganda who had traveled to the coast, we took them around the coast. We did excursions around the coast in the counties of Mombasa, Kwale and Chirifi. And what did we want? We wanted these stakeholders, the tour operators, the hotel managers, the travel agents to experience these products so that they are able to market something that they have seen and experienced. Because many times I call them Google operators. We want to avoid a situation where someone goes on Google and searches a product and at the end of the day begins marketing it without actually knowing the product that they are promoting. So that's what we did. The Ugandans really experienced Diani, they experienced Mombasa, Fort Jesus in Mombasa. Then we took them to Watamu, the marine parks in Watamu. We took them to Vasco da Gama Pillar, all these products. And then after that, we organized a farm trip, a familiarization trip for selected tourism stakeholders from Kenya to Uganda. Again, for them to experience these products. So we took them to Ndere Center. Ndere Center is a cultural center in Kampala, on the outskirts of Kampala. And it really takes you around the whole country, around Uganda, in about 2 hours. And you can't imagine the Kenyan stakeholders, how much they enjoyed this. And they told us that you people, this is a national treasure. They say, we hope you are treating it as such.
All right.
Because they say that, well, we have especially the Maasai culture in Kenya, but now if we add this to our itinerary and our clients experience the culture of Uganda, that would be wonderful. Then we took them to the Uganda Matters Shrine, which I told you about earlier, where over 40 martyrs were killed by one of the kings of Uganda many years ago, and they were declared martyrs, the Ugandan martyrs. And Kenyans regularly visit, especially we have a national holiday on 3rd June every year, and many Kenyans, especially from Western Kenya, they take a pilgrimage to that.
All right.
So after that, then we went to Western Uganda. We took them through, we took them to Mbarara. We took them to Bwindi, where they experienced the mountain gorillas, whom we call our cousins. We took them to Chibale, where they experienced the chimpanzees.
Yes.
So this, and you can't imagine, we think that we know each other. We think Kenyans know us, and the Kenyans think Ugandans know them. But the experience during that time really proved otherwise.
All right.
The scenery and all the beautiful, really it was an eye-opener. So much so that now, all of these people, stakeholders, they are now selling something they have experienced. And from the reports we are getting, the numbers are growing bigger and bigger.
Well, Ambassador, hold on to your thoughts. We need to take a short break. But as we come back, we'll still be evaluating the Kenya-Uganda tourism sector, how exactly we can tap into the potential that seems to be limitless. I'll be putting the ambassador to task to perhaps explain how we can boost local tourism, because right here in the country, we well know of Tembea Kenya brand, how we're actually encouraging locals to take up tourism activities, especially after the corona outbreak that definitely exposed some inconsistencies around foreigners who were not able to arrive into the country. Apart from that, President Ruto has actually touted about visa-free entry in Kenya. Perhaps Uganda is also thinking about this under the East African visa. Let's talk about this after this short break. You're watching Africa Speaks. Stay with us.